Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Exodus, the recap, the finale of sorts. Well, the last one was the finale, so this is just a recap to kind of say what was in it for anyone who's just joining us. And it's like, well, yeah. I don't know. I just like doing these recaps to get the flow moving and just doing some pinpoints of what happened, some important things. That's what this is for, essentially. Obviously, you can go back and watch. I would recommend it because I read. You could also read with me, or you can just listen and have your Bible open. It's up to you. It's all your choice. You can do whatever you please. We're gonna start off in Exodus. Essentially, Israel started suffering after 2 generations or one, because the new Pharaoh didn't know Joseph, just didn't know the past. So he started enslaving them, had them build cities such as Pithom and Ramesses. I'm bad at the names of the cities. Sorry, I will not be the greatest at those. But and eventually he was like, well, their numbers are more than us, so we gotta do something about that. The born sons had to be killed, and the daughters could live because I don't know. And then the moms were like, well, I don't want to murder my son because God would get mad at that, so they didn't. So then Pharaoh was like, all right, fine, you don't have to murder him, but you do have to send him down this river. So they did so. Eventually Moses is born during all of that suffering going on, and his mom hid him for quite a while and then sent him down the river. Eventually the Pharaoh's daughter seen him while she was bathing in the river. Her and her servants, and she had the servant go and grab Moses out of he had a little carriage thing that was in the river, and they grabbed him and they were like, oh, we'll keep the little guy. So Moses was adopted into that family, essentially, in a sense. Eventually, Moses is walking down the street one day, and eventually he sees an Egyptian man beating a Hebrew, and Moses, in anger, murders this guy. He's like, "Oh, I gotta go," because he knew that he would be punished very badly, sentenced to death, whatever. So he knew that was coming. So he fled to Medan, and Medan's this like close city. So when he was there, he became a shepherd, and he shepherded for this guy named Jethro and married his daughter Zipporah. I think that's how you say both those names. I don't know. But eventually one day as he's walking, he eventually, shepherds for his father-in-law Jethro. And he's going one day, taking care of the sheep, doing what he does. That's a normal day. And then he sees this burning bush engulfed in flames, but not consumed in flames. It's weird. It's a miracle of occurrence, which is why he went to look at it, and he heard God's voice calling from it. And essentially he walks up to it, and God tells him, in a sense, you gotta go save, the Israelites, the people that are being enslaved. Your people are my people, because he made a covenant with them with Israel / Jacob, and he's like, hey, I want you to come save my people, essentially. Way more than that, but it's a recap, so I'm trying to explain things a simple-ish way, in a sense, in the best way I can, because I'm not great at this, but we'll get better as time goes on. God asks Moses to save his people, but Moses gets scared because he just feels like he doesn't have the words. He doesn't trust himself, in a sense. And God disapproves of this eventually, Moses brings his brother Aaron, who's a great person, or a great just talker, great, knows his words and all that. So he becomes Moses' spokesman. And Moses tells him what to say, God tells Moses what to say, and, it's like a telephone pole thing. Aaron goes to help Moses on his journey to free the Israelites. Um, they go and they tell the Pharaoh, like, hey, you gotta free my people. It's God or God's people. You gotta free God's people. And his heart hardens, and they give warnings to these 10 different wraths that God, I don't know if it's 10, is it 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10-ish, I think. So yeah, they give warnings each time, like, hey, free the people, or this is going to happen. So the first one that happens is the Nile is turned into blood, and the Pharaoh's like, so what? So then there's a frog invasion. There's frogs everywhere, all on the, they're all on the ground. Just a huge invasion of frogs. Frogs everywhere. That doesn't work. So then eventually gnats come. The dust turns into gnats on the third judgment or wrath, you would say. Then the dust becomes gnats, and the gnats are everywhere. It's just all gross. Essentially lice. There's lice everywhere. The plague of lice is what referring to. Then there's flies that come after that. Just swarms of flies in households everywhere. Just gross. And then boils happen, which is, if you didn't know, they bring sores and stuff like that. But that happens to man and beast. It happens to everything. Just everyone's just breaking out on these big old boils. It's terrible. And then Pharaoh still is like, no. Not gonna happen. So then hail comes down. Boom, 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 boom. And hail so hard that, because, Moses goes and tells him, hey, this is gonna happen if you don't do it. And then the next day it happens. So he's given a warning. So he's like, hey, if no one's in their house, this hail is so strong that it's just gonna hit someone and kill him. It's that strong. It's really strong hail. And so there's hail that happens, still doesn't listen. So then the locusts come, they just tear everything up, because the hail destroyed all the crops, but then the locusts just come and eat the rest of the crops that somehow weren't eaten, which is crazy. And then still doesn't listen after all that, crazy. And then darkness for 3 days. Darkness so dark that you could feel the darkness, it says. Which is like, wow, that's hard to imagine, because I couldn't imagine darkness being so thick that you couldn't see it. Like, you could feel it, in a sense. For 3 days, by the way, which is crazy. But then Pharaoh still doesn't listen. So then the final one. The death of the firstborns of everything. Egyptians, the cows, livestock, everything. And that's the final thing that makes the Pharaoh turn his heart and like, hey, you guys can go. But the Israelites marked their doors with the lamb's blood, so that the angel of death that flew by that night, because he came at night and killed all the firstborns, as the final piece of wrath. And the Israelites marked their doors, so they were okay. So the angel of death knew, hey, they got that marking, they're good. We're not going to do that. But that after that, the Pharaoh lets Israel leave, because he's like, wow, I messed up. He's like, I didn't know, even though you should have known, but, I guess that must have been what he was thinking. Then Pharaoh changes his mind after he tells them that they can leave. And he's like, all right, go get him. I was joking. And they chase them all the way to the beginning of the Red Sea. So then Moses has a staff, and God parts the Red Sea so they can pass through. And during all this, they're going through, they're walking through the whole Red Sea. You've seen it, probably, or depictions of it. You've seen the depictions. It's pretty cool looking. Would have been cool to be there. But then the Egyptians are falling behind, and the Israelites pass over to the other side of the riverbank, or the piece of land on the other side. And as the the Egyptians are coming through with their chariots, like, and the whole water just, woof, goes back. All the Egyptians are gone, destroyed. The army completely destroyed. So, after that, they part their separate ways. The Egyptians lost in a sense. And the Israelites keep going. They wander in the wilderness for some time after this, and God provides them with manna, which is essentially bread from the heavens, is the discrimination of it. Not discriminate. Described part of things. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not good at words. That's how to describe it. Yeah, got it. So manna is bread from heaven, is what it is, and he supplies them with water. But for a while they were starving, and they got supplied with water because they were complaining, and Moses struck his staff. He was supposed to only strike once on the rock, and he struck it twice, and water came out of the rock, but that made God angry that he did it twice, because he disobeyed him. He told him to do it once, and he did it twice. So, struck the rock twice. And, eventually they get to Mount Sinai after the wilderness for a long time, and that's where God decides to make his covenant with the people of Israel, or the Israelites. And God makes his covenant with them, and they make their covenant with him as well, in a sense. Then Moses goes up to the top of Mount Sinai, and there's a huge cloud, and goes up, makes the Ten Commandments, or God makes the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments, if you didn't know, here's a refresher up on them. Number 1, I am the Lord your God. You shall not have no other gods before me. Simple. These are not word for word on some of them because I was running out of page. So, sorry. But you could look it up. Or just, you could read it up. Yeah, that'd be better. 2, you shall not take the Lord's name in vain. 3, you shall remember to keep holy the Lord's day. 4, honor thy father and thy mother. 5, you shall not kill. So, no murder. 6 is you shall not commit adultery. 7, you shall not steal. Pretty good. 8, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. 9, you shall not covet with your neighbor's wife. 10, you shall not covet your neighbor's goods. There you go. Those are the 10 Commandments for you. So while Moses is up, because he goes up to talk to God. He's up on the mountain, and the Israelites are left alone. They build a golden calf out of jewelry that they have. They make a golden calf as an altar, in a sense, which is not okay. And they do that while Moses is on the mountain. Moses comes down and he sees it. He's like, come on, guys, really? So what he does is he breaks the tablets that had the 10 Commandments on them. He breaks them, grabs the bull, and just tears it up. He's like, come on, guys. So then, we have to redo all that again because they went and messed up. They screwed up, but then God eventually renews the law, and redoes their covenant and stuff in a sense, and they get to building the tabernacle. Moses goes up and talks to God. God gives him all the instructions, everything, about how to build the tabernacle, the width, the wide, the when, just everything, the mercy seat, the lanterns, the utensils, everything. He tells him everything what to do, the robes, for the Aaron and his sons, because they're going to be priests. So he does all that. He gets all those, and they eventually build the tabernacle. It's awesome. It's portable as well. The tabernacle is a portable sanctuary, and it's got all this cool stuff in it. I don't have a list of everything because I didn't have enough space, and I don't remember everything. But I'd go back. I think maybe 2, and if you want, I think Exodus Part 6 would be the one to go to for that, and 7. They explain about the tabernacle for a long time, but it is awesome. It is great, but it gets built and it's portable because they're gonna keep traveling. They're going to the promised land, and they build Aaron his robes, his preaching robe, and it's pretty cool. They have like 12 like things on the robe for the 12 sons of Israel. It's pretty cool. I will say, great chapter. We're gonna go with that until I always forget to look that up. I don't know if you should call them chapters or whatever. I'm just gonna call it a chapter for now. But Exodus is great. This is the recap. It is a little short just because, it's pretty cut and dry. But next week we'll get to Leviticus, and we'll start reading that together, and then we got another recap coming up shortly after we're done with Leviticus, with however long it takes to do it, especially with my storage running out. Awesome. Super Mario, because I'm Mario. You feel me? That's where I write all my stuff down. Also, we're my whole plan for this channel, might as well talk about it, I guess, a little bit since we got time. Is we're gonna go through this entire thing, and eventually I'll get to doing specific verses, explaining and stuff like that. But I want to get through this whole thing first to answer any questions, if there was any question on that, of when if I was ever going to do anything else or anything like that. Yeah, essentially I will eventually, wow, rhyming. I will eventually get to explaining certain parts and stuff like that. But for now, let's just get through the Bible and do these recaps, because that's awesome. Eventually we get to explaining verses. I'll do verses and stuff like that. I got some already, but I'm going to hold off for quite a bit until we're done with this. We got maybe a year's worth of reading to do, I think. Maybe a year from now. Maybe longer. I don't know, because we do, about, I don't know. It's hard to say. It just depends on my storage at this point. I appreciate everyone for coming, watching this video. If you want, you can go back. There's Exodus and Genesis so far. You got probably about 3 hours or so worth of content, so you feel free to go back and watch that. If not, that's okay. If you want, you can like and subscribe. That would help. In a sense, thank you. I don't ask for that too much, though, because at the end of the day, as long as you heard the word, I'm happy. I did my part. I appreciate everyone for showing up and watching this. I'll see you guys next week. Laters, Gator.